So let's get rid of some of the stuff. So we're going to use the PUBG map for the time being. So could you, if we assume for the time being it's like PUBG and players can choose where they start, because we'll figure that out later on. For the time being, could you choose where your two teams are going to start?
Together or separate?
Up to you.
Okay, done.
All right. Let's have a team that's starting out here, and let's have a team that's starting out here. So okay. Oh gosh. Right. All right. I need to focus. So the teams they've all chosen the places they're going to be. Their DMs are kind of explaining to them what's going on. So if we ignore the specific things that are happening to each team, so what I need from you to do for each of your teams is just to come up with stuff that happens for them. On each of our moves. So without any actual systems in place, just kind of make up some stuff.
Okay.
So if I have snow and wind, you got CK and flame. So all right, I'll just to start us off. So on our first round, let's say for sake of argument, Team Wind decides to move down towards the main city block where Team CK already is. What are Team CK doing?
Team CK are moving towards the coastline to try and gather resources over that way.
Okay. Team Snow, I think, is going to be looting and heading up towards this way. And Team Flame, what are they up to?
Are currently stuck in a fight with 2 members dead. Or, well,
okay.
Yeah.
So Team Flame have accidentally dropped onto a secret boss monster, and now they're kind of fucked up for the rest of the thing.
Basically.
So okay, we can just use the paint tools for now because again we're not worried about it looking good or being good. Logically speaking, that's a great way to start because we've had something weird happen straight away. So where are we going to be seeing what are the options here for Team Flame? Like where can they res or recover from this bad start?
So, where's my paint tool? Where's my paint tool? There it is. So Team Flame have the option of going here to hit the red station for one of their 2 members.
Okay, yeah.
Both their ninja and their barbarian are both dead as things stand.
Mm-hmm.
So they can take the path up here to the resurrection station, or they can continue to loot around here on top of the encounter, having now beaten it with just 2. With the monk and the bard, or the monk and the ranger still alive, so they can kind of loot this area and then move over to this later, with the risk of being collapsed on by any of these 3 teams.
Okay, so interesting kind of design stuff to come out of there is, which kind of immediately comes to mind, is how do we empower the Team Flame to sort of to know what the right decision is there, or not necessarily what the right decision is, but how do they make an informed decision as to what they're doing?
So, because 2 of them are dead, they have 0 input. So, our friends, the monk, I think that's a monk, and the ranger, have the choice. Basically, decide between the 2 of them of what they think is more worth their time: going to this red station and getting 1 member back, but being out of the way of this island and all the loot that's on it, or they have the choice of staying and looting, risking being moved in on by any of these 3 teams, and potentially not get the chance to make it to the red station to bring back one of them. And there's probably like another red station here or something, and they can kind of go from one to the other and get both of them back over time.
Okay, we need to rein in some of the size of some of these scribbles, otherwise we're going to end up not getting to see the map.
True. I can't find the eraser.
I'm not even sure there is an eraser. I think you just sort of select them and then move them out of the way.
Yoink. Yoink.
Oh god, yeah, it's going to take forever. Alright, don't worry. It's fine.
No, it's fine. I figured it. Delete. There we go. Oh, no, fuck! I hit Team Snow with that. Team Snow are gone! I can't do that because of Team Flame. Hang on, let me just... Oh, I moved them accidentally. Okay, well, I can get rid of that now.
I'll tell you what, let's
I've done it.
Okay. let's just clear all the drawings for the time being, and we can go back in and like put stuff in. That's all right. So actually, the only thing that's really
Well,
whoops. That's fine. I can undo. I can do that. I can undo that. I think maybe.
yeah. Oh god. Now. Oh, we have to move it all back to the bottom. Hang on.
All right. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. This doesn't matter.
You carry on with what you. I'll do this in the meantime.
Okay. So let's.
Everything else has vanished, but it's fine.
All right. So the question that this brings up is, how do Team Flame know if there's somebody on the other side of that river or someone between them and the res point? Like, is there a way for them to tell?
No, they have no idea.
Well, that's the thing. It's like this is like where the question comes up: is can the teams make an informed decision if they've got no way of being able to sort of make a choice that gives them information, or at least some amount of information?
I think they can make the informed choice of what they believe is best for them to do as a team, but they could very easily run into somebody. I think maybe at best, if they were to move over to this coastline and they performed very, very well on a perception check, they could kind of see if there was anybody over here in this immediate area of the res point. But anything past that would be very difficult. The natural vision point for a res station is not, or a natural vision point for any race is not that far. So doing a perception check, you normally won't be able to see that. But if we say there's like a telescope here or something that they can use,
okay,
then they'll be able to check that immediate area, but it won't go past that box there.
Yeah, I like so. I make that writing a little bit more visible. So yeah, so cool. This has already borne some fruit in terms of giving us some interesting stuff to work with. I like the idea of there being sort of low impact but useful sort of utility points around the map that kind of give you other options. So in this case, they've got a choice then of being like, if they want information, they can go to a place that has that utility to see across. And maybe you could destroy that utility for, once you've used it, so that other people can't use it. I don't know. What do you think about that idea?
Yeah, I think it's an option, especially considering like that way. If either of these teams were to kind of advance towards here and they wanted to see if this res point was available, they couldn't. They would have to walk into it blind.
I'm glad you managed to restrain yourself from scribbling, doing 5 circles around it. Okay. Alright, so that gives us something interesting to work with here. So, that makes me think that maybe the way which we can have a turn sort of mechanically work is that a team gets a choice of what are each of your players doing.
Yeah.
And maybe, like, you could have sort of X amount are looting, and then maybe each segment will have, like, special actions that are available to them. Like, you've got, like, the standard, one-person scouts, or if there's a telescope there, the one person kind of just gets the super scout because you've made it that specific area.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say for the sake of argument, Team Flame does that, and there we go. And I guess the telescope would need to be pointed in a specific direction. So they know that the res point is up here, so they point it up towards there, and they're told that nobody's there.
Yeah. So they can then kind of do that as an advance, or they can go like that as an advance.
Okay. Well,
on the next turn, but they don't have that choice this turn because, of course, they've got one person here on the telescope. So if you wanted to use the telescope, you didn't want to walk in here blind. The rest would have to be doing something else on this island.
Yes.
Splitting up that far, it seems pointless. Therefore, and quite frankly, I don't think that would be a decision any team would make. So I think having them stay on this island while one person checks here and the rest are kind of like elsewhere on the.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to consider. That I think we will need to sacrifice the ability to split parties for the sake of having at least at the, this sort of stage in the game,
Yeah.
because it's just going to create a nightmare to keep track of that many people.
Especially in 15-minute intervals.
Yeah. But I do like the idea of giving people a system of sort of different choices they can make at any given thing. I think that will be, as long as those choices are interesting and somewhat varied, then hopefully that'll give people enough to kind of get their teeth into in terms of actually making a decision. And that kind of thing does push it more towards, which is kind of where I think we probably should be looking towards, which is a wider, more sort of tactical view, where you're kind of you're making decisions on a larger scale than just a sort of a micro scale.
Yeah. So that was the 10-minute interval we had. As soon as I get a message, I'm going to need to jet, but I have until then, so we can carry on for now.
Okay. Well, that's cool. So that's already given us some stuff to think about. So all right, so let's get deep into the next turn as we can. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that Team CK have chosen to. Actually, I love push your luck mechanics, so I think we could definitely have that as one of the options. So maybe Team CK chose to push their luck on the assumption that probably nobody else was nearby, and get say 2 rolls on the loot table rather than just 1. And this has allowed for Team Win to see that they are there, because Team Win is spending some time moving and scouting.
Yeah.
So Team Win come into conflict with Team CK as they are scouting. As Team CK are looting. So what would be interesting decisions to have as part of that?
If they choose to attack, they get the surprise attack mechanic we mentioned. So they get to move first for free with no reaction from Team CK. And then the initiative rolls come in, because CK would have no idea they're coming. They're not scouting.
Okay, so yeah, so CK made some bad decisions here. Oh yeah. Oh, it's come on the wrong layer, isn't it? Okay. Is it? Nope. Who the hell knows? Objects and tokens? Nope. GM info. Are you okay if I post this video online for Brackish in case you're interested?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. So I guess if we just assume that Team CK takes some casualties, then from being ambushed, but I guess they've got some amount of loot because that's what they spent their time doing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, this is good. This is just a improv exercise, really. So if your Team CK in this position, so something bad has happened. So same as Team Flame. So something bad has happened. You've gotten ambushed. It's everything else being equal, it's likely you're going to lose a fight when you are the one being ambushed. So what are interesting ways that Team CK can respond to this?
Well, they got the choice of turning and fighting back, naturally. They are next to water. They could swim out a bit, test their luck in the waters.
True.
They don't get attacked by a sea creature.
So that's something very different from PUBG, isn't it? And that's the PUBG had to wrestle with that as a design problem, is that for a while, swimming in the water was, you couldn't hit them, I think? And we have even less ranged weapons, theoretically, in this. So water, taking to the water should definitely be considered as an option.
Yeah.
But we'll have to think about, is that, too good of an option?
Or they can attempt to outright just run, particularly. That's realistic. There are 3 options. I think having the ability to go in the water with the option of having yourself put at the risk of being attacked by something else, which will be at DM's discretion, would be fair.
Okay, so let's scribble some stuff on here. So, yeah, so options for loss. So we've got flee into water. So potential encounter. I guess maybe I'm thinking of other games like effectively like leave. Is there a way to think of that we could give people the option to bribe a team or kind of like give up something to be able to get away?
We could look at it. It would mean the DMs would need to confer with each other rather than the teams directly conferring.
Yeah,
I think
it's tricky because...
Or each team nominates a representative and they go under the watch of one of the DMs while the two groups merge and the other DM watches over them.
That's an interesting idea. I quite like the idea of players being able to negotiate terms. I guess the tricky part with that is why isn't it just the best idea for Team Win to slaughter Team CK given the opportunity and take all their stuff?
They may suffer big casualties. They don't know what Team CK have up their sleeve from their losing.
Okay. I think I love the idea of offering another team a deal. I definitely think that's something we should keep in. That's a really cool idea. Because it's just inter-team dynamics that's more than just whacking each other.
Yep.
So I guess in that, yeah, that would be another sort of design lever where if you've got it all from the most punitive, which is if Team CK offer Team Win a deal and Team Win decide not to take it, Team Win just get to kill all Team CK. Like, that's all, like, or get, like, free hits on Team CK. Like, that's the most punitive way. The alternative would be, the other extreme end would be, it doesn't cost Team CK anything to offer Team Win a deal, and they don't suffer any negative repercussions for it at all. It's just, like, it's there as an option, and if Win decide not to go for it, then we just carried on as if the offer wasn't made at all.
And it can be used as if it was a bluff, where Team CK have their rep, who has some stuff, having looted the area, can attack the other rep, and there could be a fight going on separately that the rest of the party is unaware of.
Oh gosh, okay, yes.
So yeah, there's plenty of ways you can go about it.
Okay, yeah. I like it. That's a very historical thing to have. That the representatives meet and one decides to stab the other one. That, again, will need to be something we need to think about pretty closely to just make sure there's an obviously better option than the other ones are. Or that, like, we end up in a prisoner's dilemma situation where, like, the only good move is to betray. Because it doesn't make sense to do anything else. And game 3-wise. But okay, no, that's pretty cool. So okay, so let's say for the sake of argument that that Team Wind are able to obtain some kind of concession from Team CK that makes it worthwhile them not just murdering them outright. So I guess Team CK. Where does Team CK go?
Far away as possible.
Okay. So yeah, so Team Wind is I'm on the wrong layer, aren't I? Yep. Okay. Alright, so Team Wind is looting. They're feeling pretty pleased with themselves. I think Team Snow, let's just say for the sake of argument, Team Snow is showing us why we probably don't want to have a map this big. Is heading down towards the central area. And let's throw in our circle. Can we do that? Oh, we can. Okay, great. How do we change the colour on this one? I'm not sure. Alright. So there's our first circle coming in if we're just going to stick to pretty much PUBG mechanics. Alright. So, oh, that's right. So we need to... What does Team Flame do? Cool, so they go to their res point, and they're back up to 3 members. So do we have multiple res points on the map, or
Yeah.
Okay, so where's the next one? If we just make it a green box.
There-ish, I'd imagine.
Okay. So we're thinking to have a lot of single res places and maybe like 1 or 2 major res places.
So that would be like there and there, I think, because they're most out of the way.
Okay.
Or most conflict likely.
So are you thinking the big green box is a place where you can have a, multiple person res?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I like that idea. Because again, it gives... so PUBG doesn't really super incentivize you to get towards the center early on, but I like the idea of being able to gain ground and kind of get a meaningful advantage. Alright, so how are you doing on time?
I've not had a message back yet, so...
Alright, we'll keep going for another couple of minutes then. Alright, so next turn. What's Team CK going to do? What new mechanic or advantage are they going to try and generate for themselves?
Oh, shoot. It's not what I want to do. Move inwards so they don't die to the circle.
Okay. So what kinds of mechanics or things would... So Team CK, we know, is at a disadvantage now, because they've been ambushed, they've lost something in the negotiations, so they're going to need to make up ground in some way. What can they do that would allow them to do that without just completely negating everything that just happened?
So, I have a feeling... So they can look to go a number of ways. They can go down here. They can go up here. Or they can try and head to the center and look for medical supplies to heal their party and maybe make up for the losses. Of course, heading to the center is riskiest. But we're also not considering the fact that they may very well now have a sponsor coming in, and that's what that triangle recommends or signifies. There is now a sponsor on this team for an item to come down, and that will be there in, say, 3 turns.
Okay, so maybe this is something that the team can do, is appeal to the sponsors as a team that's now officially behind. Because that's a whole, can of worms to try and open up there as to how this is going to materially work. Like, should teams be able to appeal to sponsors at all times, or are there certain conditions that unlock that?
They can appeal at all times, but it's then on the sponsor's head to decide if it's worth their time or not. Bearing in mind, channel points will be what sponsors are used from, so sponsors will not be just handed out willy-nilly.
Yes, so I guess I suppose this is kind of the case anyway. The fundamental challenge with the sponsor thing is it is a popularity contest by its very nature. So, presumably teams who brought a lot of their friends along to the stream will have a lot more of these drops than other teams will. Can you think of any way offhand that we might try and balance that?
The same person cannot sponsor the same team more than X amount of times during one session.
Sure. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I kind of like that. I think that works. That'll stop it from getting wildly out of control,
while still allowing people to kind of help their favorites as best as is possible.
I think as well. What do you think about this? Is kind of mixing systems a little bit, because I know this didn't really happen in Hunger Games, but it definitely happens in PUBG, which is that when the drops come in, they are heavily advertised. They're like, the kind of premium drops kind of thing.
We could have that as an option, so maybe lower tier drops are more Apex style, because that way, that you are actively hindering, in a sense, the the team you're sponsoring, while higher tier sponsors could be smaller, quieter packages that will help more, therefore cost more, but will not alert. So it gives you a reason to kind of save up and go for a higher tier if you want to try and help your team as best you can.
Yeah, I really love that idea. I think that's really cool because then, like, if there's anything that Twitch chat loves to do, it's troll people. So yeah, 100%.
And that also then means that if they do want to troll people, it means that it then becomes nigh on impossible to get the stronger items in because people aren't saving their points for sponsors.
Yeah. Yes, and the channel points works out quite nicely because you can't just sort of make Smurf accounts do this. You have to have an account that's been in there for a while.
Yep.
And if it's limited to 1 per game per person, I guess we're still working the assumption that these are going to be relatively short games, so it's not like, you do it and then you just don't do anything for the rest of the evening. Yeah, I think that's a cool idea.
Yep, I would agree. Or you get X amount of tier 1s, or you get slightly less tier 2s, or you get a single tier 3 or whatever. However we decide to do the tiering system, you can basically choose, okay, you can do 4 but they're tier 1s and will alert. You can do 2 but they're tier 2s and they will alert in a smaller radius. Or you can do 1 tier 3 that will not alert.
Okay.
That way people aren't spending shit tons of points on trolling. Well, they could be. But if they decide to save it, they then aren't in a position where they're inherently doing better than the people who are deciding to troll with the lower ones, because they are capped at 1 or 2 sponsors for the evening.
Okay, yeah, so a gradient of quality and publicity.
And on that, I've just had the message come through, so...
Alright, well that works out pretty well.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, alright.
I'd say we got a good bit done there.
Yeah, well, we got through, we came up with a bunch of new ideas, so I think that's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if we did kind of screw over our... Oh, fuck me. Even if we did screw over our design a little...
Yeah, it's fine.
I mean, why not? I've just made a line that I now can't get rid of. Oopsies.
Haha! Alright, well that's going to be it for this hyper-quick board game RPG something game design session. Yeah. Game design covers us both. Thank you, Dani, for joining. And
absolutely.
Brackish, and anyone else who watched this back, I hope you enjoy as well. And we'll keep trying to chip away at this big old monolith for as long as we can. Catch you guys next time.